Hi, this clip is about how to use the context API offered by React by using the useContext hook. So basically, React library has inside this context API, which allows us to have kind of like a global state somehow. It's not like a proper store manager like Redux, but it's pretty useful, although there are two drawbacks, meaning it's not suitable for large-scale projects because it gets clumsy at some point, and also the performance is so because each time a component which is using the useContext is rendered, the other one depending on will be re-rendered too. But usually this will not be a problem. So use context, the hook and the context API to be added to a React project. What you have on the screen is a simple React project, like after creating the project with create React app CLI. So we have the app file, and in order to add the context API, you don't have to install any library. All you have to do is to go to directory, context, create a new directory, a new file, which has to be has to have the name of your context. In my case, I just want a context for authenticated user. And before changing this file, let me define the structure that we are interested in. So basically, I want here to have a button called get user, but that button, I want to be in a component which is inside of a component which is inside of the app. So let's say that we have here user1, okay? And inside of this component, I will have user2. And inside that component, I want to have a button which, when clicked, changes the user. Normally, you would pass it as a prop in here, and this component will pass the property also to his child and so on. So to avoid that, we are using the context API. So first of all, let's create this component called user1. So we create a new directory called components, and inside the file user1.jsx. Inside here, we say export const user1 equals function and return div, and here it's a span with 1. We'll have here the user listed, and also I want another component as I was just saying, and I'm going to just create it now. User2.jsx export const user2 equals function, which will return just the div and the span with 2, right? And here I'm going to have to add the context also. Okay, so app.js user1 is rendering the user, also has user2. Let me import this one. Okay, and everything is okay now. Let me import also this one. Okay, so to create the data for that context, in this out context file that we just created earlier, we have to say import React from React, of course, and then const. Actually, I'm going to just export this one. Export const out context equals React.create context, right? So that's the API, create context. And here we declare the current user, which will be not yet defined. Okay, that's all. That's our context. We will have, or you will have most likely different contexts, one for blog posts, one for FAQ, who knows. But basically, this is how you create a context file. And inside you put the initial values. Okay, now in order to for the all app to have access to this context, I have to import here the out context and wrap the code that we have as HTML to wrap it inside of this out context, and also to add the method called provider. Okay, so this is the first step. Import out context from out context, out context.provider, and then you have to set a value, and this value has to be the data that you want to pass to all components. Okay, in my case, I just want to pass a value that is also able to be updated. So I'm going to say user and set user, and I'm going to set it as a state, right? So this one, the context API works in conjunction with the use state. Normally, you would have this use state declared in a custom hook, most likely, or something like that. But for the sake of the example, we will have it here. And to add it here as a value, I have to add it as an object. So I have an object with user and set user. Okay, I'm gonna just save this. Sorry, is actually current user, right? So I have current user and then set user. It's fine. Now that I have this in here, I can go to the user one. Okay, but before that, actually no, go to the user one and we go in here and we want to show here the current user. So basically we can say const user set user equals use context, and here I'm going to say out context. Okay, and now if I show in here user.current user, it should work out of the box. No, something is a bit problematic. Cannot read properties of undefined reading current user. So basically I should have here probably current user. No, so we are passing here the current user. Oh no, actually no, so it's user, right? User, and in here we have the current user, and let's see why this is complaining. Is the user is undefined? Yeah, of course, that was the problem. Current user, say not defined. Okay, and this one I can change it to undefined. Okay, this is passed now. With user 2 we have this one, and let's see. As you can see, user not defined. Okay, let me move it on top of the image. Okay, user on the component 1 not defined. Let me add it also in here on the app. Let's say span app, and here to say user.current user. So app not defined, 1 not defined, and in case of 2 I have the same thing. So I can move it here on the right side in order to have the user one on the left side, and I'm going to just copy those two, and of course just say this one in here, this one in here, and the span in here. It's just that I'm going to just change it to 2. Okay. And now if we are checking the browser, as you can see, app 1, 2, they have the same state, but it is not defined. Okay. So what we want to do now is, like, when we click on a button here on the user 2, we say button, and on click, we just want to change user, and here change user, and I'm going to go here and declare this function change user, which will be set user, and here current user, my name. Okay, going back to the app. Now when I click, all the states of all the components are changed. Okay, so that's the advantage of use context. You change it in one place and then you have it updated in all the other parts. And also this implementation, the out context provider, can be added on the index.js file, like in here on top of app, or you can add it per route. I don't have a router installed, React router, but if you have, you can add this out context provider based on the route, and also the value to be the state from belonging to that section of the project, right? So no need to install any library. You create in context the out context. Here you define your values in that object, right? And then to consume this, you need the name of this context. In our case, out context.provider. You set the value attribute to be the values of the state, the user, and the function to update the context data, and that's it. Please let me know if I missed something, and yeah, thank you.